Which big-time dating app has decided to launch a new version that targets one specific consumer group? In this video, that's one of the things I talk about. Welcome back to another Warna Weekly, this time episode 7. Every week in these videos, I bring you the trends you need to know about in the format of one interesting brand or product, one phone habit, so something to do with social media or an app we're downloading, and one influencer doing well in their industry. My aim is to bring you information from the grassroots that you might not find elsewhere and to help you feel a little less overwhelmed with the colossal amount of information out there. This episode is actually the penultimate one. I'm going back to university a little bit earlier than I thought, and next week's the format will be slightly different. Anyway, let's get on to the video. The brand I'm talking about this week is Brandy Melville, a privately held fashion label launched in the US in 2009, also with stores in the UK and Germany. It's aimed at teenage girls to young adults, and the vibe is sort of collegiate, inspired by LA, preppy, quite plain. And if you're going to compare it to something, you'd probably think a brand like American Apparel or Abercrombie back in the day. And it's a brand that's projected to bring in $300 million this year in 2018. So why is it still doing so well? Well, firstly, it's Instagram, which seems to be a bit of a common thread across all the brands I tend to talk about. Although 3.8 million followers on Instagram might not seem that big compared to something like H&M or Zara, bear in mind that this is a brand that is very low-key in terms of traditional advertising. When you look at the feed, you'll see beaches, coffee shops, friendship groups, all the aspirational stuff, and it uses a mix of professional models, its own ambassadors called the Brandy Babes, and everyday lovers of the brand all across its feed. Secondly, Brandy Melville also puts a lot of focus onto product research. They have a designated team of about 20 teenage girls, so the exact target market, and they come together to brainstorm new ideas, they give feedback on the current lines, they test out new materials, and these girls just give their ideas on what they think would sell well in the future. And thirdly, the physical stores. So you probably have walked past one and not even realised. The interior is like their Instagram feed. You go in there, it's like a beach hut feel. There's good music, there are patches on the walls, and the staff who work there are just like an extension of who you see on social media. But the brand hasn't gone without its controversy, because apart from a few pieces of clothing, it is a one-size-fits-all clothing brand, which means that it immediately excludes a load of people from their target age range who won't be able to fit into that one size. I guess the question is, where do you draw the line when it comes to defining the target customer? What is an acceptable level of exclusivity for the sake of brand identity, and what is going too far? I'll let you think about those, but what I do know is that Brandy Melville is just another brand that confirms how important Instagram is for the future of retail. For section 2 this week, I'm talking about Tinder. I guess it was only a matter of time before I brought up a dating app, but I'm not talking about the normal version of Tinder. Last week, it was revealed that it would be launching a new app, a new branch called Tinder U, which is specifically designed for college and university students. Now, if you're not aware of what Tinder is in general, it was one of the original dating apps that introduced swipe culture into our lives and made it stay. And I'll let you decide if that was a good thing or not. But as many will know, the dating app world is now huge. It seems like a new app is popping up every single day. Anyway, what is Tinder U? Well, as I said, it's Tinder, but specifically for college and university students, at the moment just in the US, but I'm guessing if it did well, it would be rolled out everywhere. And I think the most important thing is, we all know how powerful a university campus can be when you want to spread a message. That's how Bumble started to grow without a marketing budget, and that's how Facebook obviously originally launched. The way it works is you go onto the app, you add your official university email, so you don't have to set up a new account. Tinder sends you a verification email, and then you're good to go. And in terms of functionality, it's essentially the same as the normal Tinder, except you get a campus badge to indicate what university you belong to. From the wider context of dating apps, we are seeing this more and more, the diversification of the industry. We've seen it with Bumble launching Bumble Biz, and I think all of these apps are trying to avoid becoming too stagnant when they realize that people are getting bored with swiping, there are too many choices, it's just too overwhelming. All in all, I am interested to see how well Tinder U does, just based on how quickly things tend to spread across university campuses. For the final section of this week's Warna Weekly, I'm talking about a big internet personality called Daquan. Daquan is a fictional character who built his fame on Instagram off the back of meme culture, and it's a slightly different take on what I would usually talk about in this section. But when so many meme accounts exist, what makes his different? Well, for starters, he's totally anonymous. Only the people in his town really know who he is, so I guess it's the kind of level of mystery he's created around himself. He rarely does interviews, but he has said that he'd rather his content be tied to what's trending on the internet and internet culture in general, rather than being tied to a specific personal brand. And I guess that makes his content even more inclusive. He manages to post 4 to 5 times a day, and this is through both creation and curation. Every day he gets like hundreds or thousands of content submissions from your everyday Joe to big celebrities all trying to create the next big meme and break the internet. He also uses Twitter to find ideas because that's very underrated for comedy in general, and he'll use a special software that tracks and pulls content that's gaining momentum on the internet. But he doesn't just put out any old submission, he puts a lot of care into the memes he posts because he sees memes as a tool for change. He's even gone as far as saying that they are the new form of news headline in the social world. As for sponsored posts, Daquan didn't start accepting these until late 2016 or early 2017 because he wanted to stay authentic, but this actually now is their biggest source of revenue. But the brands he does work with, like Burger King, like Netflix, understand that it's less about advertising and more about becoming part of the conversation or part of internet culture. So if you're looking for a laugh, definitely go follow Daquan on Instagram or Snapchat. So that's it for another Warna Weekly, and I hope you picked up one new piece of information that you hadn't found elsewhere. Next week will be the last episode, so as I've mentioned, the format will be slightly different because I want to share with you my top resources, where I get my information from, so I can end the series with you having the tools to go and find this stuff out for yourselves. If you don't want to miss that, you can follow me on LinkedIn, you can subscribe on YouTube, and please do feel free to leave any comments and questions below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the final episode next Tuesday.